game for Philly. Jalen Hurts throwing for over 300 yards, but he also racked up 3 turnovers. Now, Ryan Clark is back here with us, and Dom, I want to know, even after having those several hiccups yesterday, is Jalen Hurts the starting quarterback for Philly moving forward, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that Jalen Hurts is going to be like the franchise quarterback, that he's going to earn some long-term deal at some point, because I think it's too early to tell all that. But what it's not too early to tell is he's the best quarterback they have in the building, and they're not going to be in position, nor should they be considering going after a new quarterback in the draft. And maybe there's something out there in free agency, but I feel like we're pretty sure that Carson Wentz is not the answer. So I'm not sure who else they're going to put at quarterback to start next season. Maybe Jalen Hurts loses it at some point throughout next season. But everything he's shown, considering that he was a rookie who was not planning to get much play time, they dropped him in this situation. And the offense has been, by most statistical measures and by our own eye test, the offense and the defense, frankly, the team in general feels like it's been better. It's been in a better place. It's been moving in a better direction, despite the fact that they lost the last 2 games. This seems like a respectable team, which they weren't before. And we watched all the reasons why people made excuses for Carson Wentz, and I feel bad saying their excuses. They were good reasons, like the depletion of the offensive line and the playmakers and the play calling. Like, there are a lot of things wrong with that Eagles team outside of Carson Wentz. But all those things seem to disappear when Jalen Hurts came in. So I'm not sure how you could argue that this team could go back to Carson Wentz. And there is no other easy answer out there. So it feels like it's Jalen Hurts', or at least it should be. Maybe it won't be, but it should be Jalen Hurts' job to lose next season.
See, Dom, toward the end, you started to get it. See, at first, you were talking as Dominique Morris Chestnut Foxworth, right? That's who you started out as. You were like, I'm gonna talk for me, right? I came on with my cool first take outfit, and I feel real good about the comparisons that have been made to my looks. And so we talk about what I think, but that ain't what Doug Peterson has to think, right? That's not what the Philadelphia Eagles organization has to think. And you got to remember, what happens is you have these biases, right? Whether they're positive or negative, right? Like, there was the bias of watching Carson Wentz in 2017, seeing Carson Wentz take backups and practice squad players to the playoffs last year, that led to him being able to stink it up for so long this season, right? Because he had deposited some things in your emotional bank account that made you remember how good he was. And then there were some negative biases, right? The same biases that people like Rex Ryan and you even said on TV when you were like, we don't know if Jalen Hurts has the skill set to be a great starting quarterback, right? You just said we don't really know if he's earned the franchise yet. And so when you have these questions and then you see that second half, you see the Dallas Cowboys deploy a little defense that has a spy on Jalen Hurts, the 3 late turnovers, you might go, oh, shoot, maybe we're not sure. Maybe he's not our guy. And I mean, we gave the other guy $110 million. At least we've seen him play like an MVP. So I don't know if Jalen Hurts has earned it. Maybe if they're 3-0 or 2-1 with him, you say that he's earned it. And yes, to the eye test, they look better. Yes, statistically as an offense, they are better. He has produced, but they're still 1-2. And if you're going to say to yourself, you know what? We just stink, period. Whether Jalen's the quarterback, Carson's the quarterback, I don't know if that necessarily means he's earned the trust of the organization to be the quarterback going forward. And you know, don't be coy, don't be fooled. You know Jalen Hurts got to earn it, right? Like in New Orleans, we don't use, we don't put the adjective or the adverb in front of the word and say, you know what, he has to play extremely well. Nah, we be like, he got to play good to get it. You feel me? And that's where Jalen Hurts is right now. So having these little hiccups, not necessarily finishing 2 games, I think puts the Eagles in the place where they can talk themselves back into a quarterback competition or talk themselves back into Carson Wentz being the guy. And that's the part that I think makes it a little murky.
I think you're right. You're right, if it's at all close. And I think whether you meant to or not, you probably made a really good point that's broader than sports, a general social commentary about us all having biases. And everything we do, we bring the biases to everything we think and say, discuss, all decisions we make, we bring biases. The problem is so few people are aware of the biases they bring. So they think that they've landed on some conclusion based on strictly facts. And I think that's the problem.
Right.
Is you need to understand that part of the reason why you feel the way you feel or you think the way you think is because the biases you have brought to the table. So you're probably right. I think we probably agree on this more than we disagree. If the question is, has Jalen Hurts won the job? Maybe not. Has he earned the job or earned the one spot? Absolutely. There's no reason not to. But there's so many factors that are leading into these biases, including the $100+ million that they promised to Carson Wentz. That's going to lead into the bias, including the way Carson Wentz looks. That's going to lead into the bias. He's the stereotypical 6'5" white guy play quarterback. That's going to lead into the bias. And Jalen Hurts is not that by any stretch. But I think you could point to other people out there like Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray, as smaller guys who are athletic, who have made it work, to find some other bias to convince you that maybe Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy. But you need to understand the biases that you bring to the table. But the reason that I landed on Jalen Hurts winning the job is not because I'm oblivious to the fact that there may be biases in Carson Wentz's favor. It's because of Jason Kelce. That's why. Jason Kelce, the center, all-pro center on that team, gave a speech a couple weeks ago at a press conference that made it quite clear to me. He didn't put no names on it.
It's about
but
winning.
He made it clear that it's about winning, that it's going to be impossible to walk into that locker room